just All right. Hello, everybody.
Afternoon.
Hey, welcome to the Best Case Scenario podcast for this week. We got a great show for you on some controversial topics. I'm with my co-host D. Johnson.
And I'm here with friends of the people, like always.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna cover a couple of topics. First things first, man. Please subscribe, hit that bell. Tap in with us on Soapbox Heroes. The channel's blowing up. Much shout out to Tyrone. Man, you're doing your thing, man. Keep keeping it going. And Houston, thank you for showing our man much love. We thank you and appreciate you for that. But
That's right.
Let's get on into it. So, interesting story in the news over the last couple of weeks. You may have heard, may not have heard. Lady's name goes by Dr. Tisha Rowe. She took a flight on American Airlines, as we like to call it, hashtag the not so friendly skies. She was asked to leave the plane because her outfit was deemed inappropriate. And simply put, they asked her to cover herself from the waist down because if she did not, her and her son were not going to be able to take the flight.
Sad.
And the thing about that, I feel like, everybody's going to immediately say, oh, well, people are complaining because she's black. But fundamentally speaking, if you've seen her outfit, it's a one-piece romper. It's about mid-thigh, coming down about mid-thigh. She had some cake. I'm just go ahead and put it out there. She had some cake. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out at this point is what is really inappropriate.
Well, first of all, if we're living in a world where cakes is a crime, I don't want to live
in this world
any longer. Just shoot me now.
Man.
If cake is a crime, shoot me now because I don't want to live in that world. That's terrible. And second of all, I don't think she woke up and she can't make it bigger or smaller for herself. So it was kind of like, you look how you look whenever you get on the plane. The dress code, as far as the way it's described, American Airlines is not to wear offensive clothing. That's very vague. It leaves a lot to interpretation, and I think that she was misinterpreted. They didn't understand that ass.
Well, here's the thing: when you talk about offensive clothing, you're talking about things that have slurs on it or that reveal parts of the body that we should keep covered. I mean, like if she got on the plane with a stocking shirt, she had piercings, I'd agree. I'd 100% agree with American Airlines. But when you look at this outfit she was wearing, it was a colorful outfit. It was, there was some flesh exposed. I'm not gonna lie about that.
She's coming back from the islands, bro. Like she was just off fresh mangoes and whatever, you know what I mean? Just living the life, Stella got her groove back, salt water in her veins.
And one of the worst parts of the story that we haven't even touched on is she was on the plane with her son. So the worst part about it is now this little guy has to deal with the whole with life, or going through life, I should say, knowing that his mom was singled out because she's stacked. And I mean, I'm sure he's had to deal with that with maybe some friends looking at his mom provocatively. Maybe they dads looking at her provocatively.
It's not like something abnormal stacked. I mean, a lot of our sisters are built like that, Hey, she's not.
A lot of our white women are built like that.
Well, it is, but it was not something uncommon to see, in a woman's body. I just think that the overall, the problem is why are flight attendants able to make calls like that with customers?
And what is the guidelines again that determine what's considered offensive clothing? Like I said, there has to be. It can't be left so open to interpretation that somebody can get on with a halter top and a pair of shorts, and they're able to do it, and somebody get on with the similar type of clothing, and they're not able to do it. If there's no precedent there, or I mean, there's a time, like even in high schools, they would tell you what your kids can't wear to school. I grew up in the 90s, and it was very, very well known you couldn't wear Kings and Raiders attire because that was considered gangster attire. That was what it was. You couldn't wear Pendletons, certain colors, certain neighborhoods, because they knew that was, if not offensive, it would attract the kind of attention that could get you in a serious situation or the school in a serious situation. So there has to be a guideline, a precedent. There has to be pictures. I mean, we're in the internet age. There should be a small video that these flight attendants can watch that say, hey, if person A wears this, they can't get on the plane.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that. But because basically what it does, it takes the interpretation out of it. And when you do that, the guideline, it makes it easier for people to enforce the guidelines in a way that's fair and respectful of everybody. And then also it gives the passengers an expectation that they can then say, hey, well, I can't wear this on a plane. I mean, if you think about it, at one point in time, you used to be able, since post 9/11, there's a lot of things you can't bring on a plane that you used to be able to bring on a plane.
Oh yeah.
And now people, at first it was a hassle for a lot of people, and they trying to figure it out. But now the expectation is set very reasonably, and everybody pretty much knows what to do when they're flying, as far as what to bring on a plane and not to bring on a plane.
And there's never any kerfuffle over it. I mean, I've flown recently. I mean, simple and plain. Can't bring more than 3 ounces of liquid on a plane. Fair enough.
But
not argue.
And because of that, people adjusted. And so the same thing will happen if American Airlines changes their policy. Now, in terms of what they did to try to, I should say, placate, or what they tried to do in order to appease the doctor, the good doctor, they actually refunded her and her son their flight.
Hold on, before we get that far, keep in mind though, immediately after the flight, what they said to her was, hey, because I read this on Twitter. They went on Twitter and they made a statement to say, we tried our best to reach out to her. We tried our best to address the situation so we could figure out what happened. There's nothing else you need to address, American Airlines. If you happen to tap in, Soapbox Hero, you don't need to address shit. What you need to do is find them 3 flight attendants and can that ass. Because if I'm the doctor, and I like me and friend of the people talk, if I'm the doctor, I'm not responding to shit you say to me, because I got a lawyer for that. And immediately after they realized the same thing I must have realized, which is she went and talked to her lawyers, they immediately refunded her money. Now, point blank, you know you're gonna eat a whole lot of crow for this, but y'all gonna lose money. And trying to refund it so you can defend yourself in court to say, hey, at least we gave the money back, that ain't gonna cut it. And then on top of that, I mean, American Airlines had a black eye way going back. I don't know if you guys remember the Asian man that got dragged off the plane, and he was a professional too. I mean, he did a little more to get dragged off the plane because he was a little more animated. But he was bloody, which is horrible to see on anything that you pay for. But these are customers. These aren't even just these aren't everyday people trying to get on a plane on a discount or a freebie. These are paying customers that are being treated this way. And it's more than an apology. They said, like the NAACP had given people of color an advisory to not fly on American Airlines that they just lifted. Because American Airlines swore and pledged to do diversity training. That's something we'll be talking about next week, is the effectiveness of this stuff. But they did that, and the NAACP lifted the ban. And now we're here. So I think I can see American Airlines trying their best to distance themselves from the situation, but you can't. You just can't. Like, at this point, it's more than just putting it into words. There has to be some kind of action taken that make people feel like they're holding themselves accountable to the same standards they're holding us accountable to as paying customers.
As of the 11th, her lawyer has been in contact with American Airlines. It said her lawyer, Jeffrey Berg, this is according to CBS News, also told KHOU that he's been in contact with American Airline officials about further action. We've taken further steps, not of all which I'm ready to discuss, Berg said. Part of what we have asked is that they do exactly what she said, which is solve the problem.
Which is ongoing.
Which she said earlier in this article, it said that her idea of solving the problem was to include a call for an airline to create a dress code enforcement test for their employees.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have a clear test like that, of course, again, it starts with a clear policy, because a test on on a very vague policy like that is not going to be helpful. So
I see you, Betty. Thanks for tapping in. Always one of our loyal viewers. We love seeing you.
But yeah, Betty, you seem to agree with what she said, because she said that if she was a white woman, that she felt like if she was a white woman that was wearing the same thing, and that even if they thought it was offensive, they wouldn't have treated her the way that they treated her.
Now, I saw a picture of Victoria Beckham, Posh Spice, if you will, for those that know the Spice Girls, and her shorts were at least 3 inches shorter than hers. 3 inches. Now, I'm talking, my shorts is literally right below the ass cheek. So I get it if you threaten because you're not as physically endowed, but you can't blame it on the dress code. Because Posh Spice walked on the plane damn near naked, but she ain't got no. She's Posh Spice. She ain't shaped like that.
But whose plane was it? Because I know she don't fly. She don't fly.
Oh, it was American Airlines, fam.
Oh shit!
It was American Airlines.
What is Posh Spice doing on American Airlines?
I mean, you know, they have first class.
That might be another problem.
They have first class. They have first class.
No, they private, dog.
They have first. I mean, you know, the rich don't stay rich because they fly private all the time. But my point is, and it was a very good point that she made, is if you're going to hold me accountable for how I'm shaped, then you should hold everybody accountable for that. There should be no, and I agree with her with the dress code enforcement. But one thing that's going to happen, and even if they make a dress code enforcement policy, there's still going to be somebody that harbors resentment towards somebody that looks better, shaped better, or just they assume is better than them. Okay. And you are right. Voluptuous is not. Be mad at voluptuous all you want, but don't discriminate against it.
Okay.
So, you know, one of the other crazy parts of this whole story that really kills me is this wasn't even your regular average doctor. She's a well-to-do doctor. And it seems like American Airlines really picks the worst targets. like we really if American Airlines, again, if you listening, you need to start vet checking the people you're going to go after. Get you somebody that's about a $30,000 to $35,000 a year person that can afford a public defender, so your ass ain't gonna get slammed in court, because she gonna get you. She wrote a book called B is for Bossy. She's going to get you.
And you know, and I mean, and let the chips fall where they may on this one. I mean, I think that, you know, American Airlines, if they're going to take some kind of real responsibility for it, then I mean, they shouldn't be upset. They should be upset at their staff, at their policy, as their policymakers. I don't think they have a reason to be upset at this woman. Even if they do have to pay something, they should actually be thanking this woman for bringing something to light before something worse happened. Because that's basically with policies that are vague like that, it's just really setting up the table for something far worse than this to happen. This is actually just a good wake-up call for them, and hopefully they take advantage of that.
And we were talking about this too before we went in. You know, at this point, I really think there needs to be a conversation about who is making these policies, because this isn't the first time. I mean, this is one microcosm that we're talking about. But I was telling my man Rob about another story. You know, maybe about 3-4 months ago, 2-3 or 4 months ago, I can't remember exactly when, but there was a young woman and her daughter that were flying on Spirit. I think it's Spirit, and either Spirit or Frontier, one of the EBT airlines. And she went to her plane, or she went to her seat, and there was vomit on the plane. Now, even before we get to the point that she didn't want to sit there, how are you flying a plane with vomit? There should be policy for that. That's a health risk.
I think there is policy.
Well, you're supposed to clean a flight. You're supposed to clean a plane between every flight. But even beyond that, you can't humanly tell somebody to sit in a seat where there's vomit. You shouldn't even have anybody on a plane where there's vomit. But it gets even worse. Not only did the plane ain't full, and the lady said, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about getting another flight. I'll just sit somewhere else. And they told her, no, you got to sit there. Lady said, I'm not going to do it. Probably put a little emphasis on it the way we do. and they escorted her and her daughter off the plane in handcuffs.
It's terrible. I got to drink some lighter.
Go ahead. And my point about that is, we have to figure out who these policymakers are that are creating these policies, because there's something fundamentally broken in that process. Altogether, there's something fundamentally broken in that process. You can't like what is the policy on getting on a plane with health or pathogens exposed to the air? Because that's everybody on the plane. So policymakers, I think we need to start really questioning who's making these policies, who's actually in charge of this. Because I think if we start having some transparency there, we can start to figure out the real fundamental problem of what's going on. Because airlines, I mean, the FAA isn't doing their job if this is something that's continual. This isn't something new. This isn't the first time we've heard that people have either been forced to fly in unhealthy conditions or mistreated on these airlines. And for the plane tickets are not cheap. They're not cheap. I mean, like I said, EBT air, but the average ticket on an American airline is like $400 or $500. So it's not like you're giving us excellent service for a nominal rate. You're charging a lot.
But and again, like I was saying earlier, that the policies and the laws, they're already in place to counteract certain things that happen. It's just that they're judgment decisions made where people are either blatantly going against policy, ignorantly going against policy, or misinterpreting the enforcement of policy.
Yeah.
And so it takes training, higher amounts of training in order to do that, which invariably will probably cost money, which businesses often try to avoid spending money on employees, because that is already their highest cost. But
right.
As you can see, it can be less expensive on the front end to properly train your employees. So,
or more expensive on the back
end. That
end.
is something that we need to advocate for when we see these types of things happen.
Yeah.
Because there's no real solution to these things, except for proper training, proper discipline in the event of these things happening. Because I mean, American Airlines isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. Too big to fail.
But I wouldn't say all that. Airlines fail all the time. But I think that American Airlines should. They're not going anywhere because I mean, people fly on American Airlines. But I think that American Airlines needs to understand their responsibility when you're dealing in a service industry, because you or I could be in a service industry just as people, and we can make these types of mistakes, and it would end our existence in the service industry many times.
Oh, yeah.
Simply by word of mouth or something like this happening.
Yeah.
However, because there's a large corporation, I think that to a certain extent they feel like if they can band-aid it up, and that it won't, either it won't happen again or it'll never cost them. It won't cost them more than it does to train every employee. So,
you got me over here laughing, talking about that sleeper on vacation. One or the other, you know what I mean? And the sad part is, I mean, policymakers and big businesses are typically executives.
Right.
So they don't even fly on the same airlines that they're, working for. So, I mean, they ain't worried about it. They really are not worried about it. I'm pretty sure no one that was, in any position above an hourly associate that works for American Airlines lost any sleep over this situation. But you darn skippy that they got to make a change, because, at some point people are just going to start boycotting you.
Okay. Shifting gears.
Sweet.
We're going to Epstein.
Ah, Lord, here we go.
A new twist in the Epstein scandal, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Prosecutors, this is according to CBS News, prosecutors accused Jeffrey Epstein of tampering with witnesses So Jeffrey Epstein has now been accused of tampering with witnesses in the sexual assault cases against him. Prosecutors have argued that financier Jeffrey Epstein should be denied bail while he waits trial on sex trafficking charges involving underage girls, fearing that he will tamper with witnesses. The prosecutor submitted written arguments in advance of a bail hearing Monday, saying he faces a very real possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison and seems not to understand the gravity of his crimes.
You're wrong for that, Ty. Don't think I did just see you post that. You're wrong for that. First things first, on my point of view, I want to really I'll be calling him fuckface Acosta. It's just my word for him. But, now I call him Alex Acosta because he did the right thing and he stepped down. Time to get some distance, my friend. Smart move. Okay. Because this is going to be bad for a lot of people. If anything else, this is going to be really, really damaging for Donald Trump coming up in 2020. Because one of the things that I was reading during the original story was he actually was accused of rape by one of the women that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And the reason the case never made it to court was because she received death threats from the Trump camp. So that's something that rich people do. We know rich people have the ability, they have the money, and most importantly, the connections to get to people without ever being in the same room with them. I actually I forget what I was watching. I wish I had the source for you, but I was listening to this. Oh, I'm sorry. I do know what it was. I was watching an interview with Robert Blake. Beretta. I know you guys remember Beretta, right? Killed his wife, or was accused of killing his wife back in 2003 or 4. And one of the things that he said about Hollywood was, when you want something done in Hollywood, you don't do it. You have a conversation with somebody. You talk to your lawyer about it. And then your lawyer goes and talks to a producer or a manager about it. And the manager goes and talks to somebody else about it. And then somebody else talks about something else, and somebody else talks to somebody else, and eventually something happens. But it never comes back to you because of the chains that it's gone through to get done. And that's Robert Blake, who was an actor for decades, telling you exactly how it works in Hollywood. And if we're now not noticing that things are the way they are in 2020, we have an actor in office. So I'm not. It's Epstein getting out of jail. No, I would think that'd be it would be just as bad a travesty of justice as it was when he was originally convicted in the first place.
His defense lawyers want him to have bail with house arrest at his $77 million mansion. If I was in house arrest in my apartment, I wouldn't be able to leave 500 feet from my house, but he's got literally thousands of square feet from which to roam to be on house arrest in the lap of luxury.
Right. Oh, please don't do that to me.
Let me ask you something. Do you know how Epstein made his money?
No, actually, I know.
He's a hedge fund guy. But I know there's plenty of hedge fund guys. Yeah. But how many hedge fund guys are billionaires?
That's a small list.
They don't
really make billions.
They make millions.
They make millions. Yeah. Well, they make money.
Good ones make millions.
They don't make money.
Really good ones make millions and millions. But none of them are billionaires.
I didn't even think about that. That's a very crazy. Interesting conversation.
And, so basically, because what hedge fund guys do is they manage money for people. And they usually charge anywhere between 2 and 20. And when I say 2 and 20, I mean 2% of the money that you want to put into the hedge fund, and then up to 20% of the money that he gains on your by investing it for you, right? To 4 and 40. So 4 and 40 is like maybe like sky high. You know what I mean? Where they take 4% of what you put in, and then 40% of what you invest. Now, that's not going to make you a billionaire. It's not going to make you a billionaire unless you get really, really rich people to give you a whole lot of money to manage, and you make big gains on it. So
a lot.
Imagine this is just how I'm seeing it. Jeffrey Epstein is doing this, and because his connections to other people, possibly other people that also mess with children.
Mm.
See, this is a network. He's like a kingpin of a network because this is no one man. Trust me, no one man needs all of this stuff. You know what I mean?
You're out of control, Todd.
Right? No, you're right.
You're right, though.
No, but I think this is what was happening. I think that he was using the fact that he knew some of these rich and famous people that like little girls, and he was using that to their case. Like, say, I know that you do this with little girls. Say, I even have pictorial evidence. Say, I have some kind of evidence. You were doing it with me.
Yeah.
And then I come to you to manage your money.
Yeah.
And instead of it being 2 and 20, it's let's say it's 5 and 50 now.
Mm.
Because I've got leverage on you.
Yes, you do.
Let's say it's 5 and 50 now. Let's say I'm making money hand over fist on some of these people, and now I am a billionaire money manager.
Here's the one thing, and here's another damning indictment that kind of like made me open my eyes when he just said that. I mean, literally just clicked in my head. Trump's been trying to keep people from looking at them tax returns for a long time.
That's because I think it's just because he's not as rich as he keeps saying.
No. I can see that. I mean, he's well documented to take millions and millions of dollars in losses on investments. But if you was paying somebody that was involved with child pornography and trafficking, you got to report some of those funds on your tax return.
I think that's simply paying for I think simply having Epstein manage your money, which there's if that was the case, that evidence would have already come up. Because that doesn't just show up on a tax return. That shows up other places as well.
Well, no, I'm not saying
And
that.
so
I'm saying
they're
he's
all
trying
in
to get
business,
into
right?
office. You can't have your hands on both. You can't have your feet on both sides of the fence. You feel me? You can't say, I don't like this dude. I don't want to deal with this dude. Or I'm not friends with this dude, because Trump has definitely at this point distanced himself from the man. Even though there's sound bites that they were friends for whatever amount of years, and he hung out at Mar-a-Lago with him and they had parties together, just him and just those two and 28 other women. I mean, he's making the distance here. But if recently as 2016, 2015, he was helping you manage some of your money and y'all were friends. I mean, even if y'all aren't friends, y'all are just working together. You know what he's about. Because he got fired. You banned him from your country club. And I'm not all saying even a Trump rep, but you banned him from your country club because you knew he was trying to get a 15-year-old to give him a rub and tug. You know what he's about.
Well, I think that this isn't going to really affect Trump at all. I don't think it has. I don't think it has. And
it has. I mean, people are talking about it.
People say all kinds of stuff, man. We're talking about, is it going to affect him? The only place that it matters for him politically in the polls, it's not.
Well, they haven't really been polling.
There's nobody that was gonna vote for Trump that's saying, now that Epstein has been arrested and Trump knew him, I'm not voting for Trump anymore. That's not. There's no one. I mean, no one is saying that. I thought favorably of Trump until this. Now I don't think favorably of Trump anymore.
Fair enough. I mean, you're talking about very entrenched red people on the red side of the board right now. It doesn't matter what he does. I get that. But I think there's people that are on the fence.
We're not supposed to vote
I still
for a stinking liberal now.
That people are 50. That there are some people that are even in the Republican Party that have always been 50-50 on Donald Trump. 50-50 is a hard 50-50 period. But because of their loyalty to party lines, he's their guy. So it's 51-49.
Well,
but there's some things that are going to keep chopping away at that 1% until it's back to 50-50.
It's not closer than that. Last time polling in the Republican Party, Trump has an 85% approval rating in the Republican Party. Let's not get it twisted. They are with him.
Okay.
Now, check this out, though. This is the reason why, just to jump onto, not to jump into something too political, but let you know what's going on. With the Republican Party is smart enough to know that ultimately they have more dynastic thinking. Ultimately, what they're thinking is the Republican Party is not a person. It's not a personality. It's an ideology. And they do things to defend the overall ideology, meaning they will let trip-ups, faux pas, and things like this go in order to protect the future of that ideology.
Right.
And the Democrats are more likely to try to ruin people's career and take them down and get them out of the party, and they're power hungry and they're power grabbing with each other. The Republicans don't fight each other as much in that power grab type of thing because they understand that if the ideology is winning, they're winning.
Yeah, GOP is the grand old party, and they ain't trying to see that party stop. So I can agree with you on that.
Right.
And I just honestly think that when it comes to Epstein, to get back to your original point, definitely shouldn't be allowed on the streets. Not in any way, shape, or form. To be honest with you,
isn't that kind of the thing that we're fighting against? From a social justice standpoint, in terms of the bail system and people not being able to bail. Like
this is different from a bail situation, though.
Being able to bail out is a constitutional right.
But here's the thing: there are certain crimes that you're denied bail for because of the fact that you're a flight risk. There's certain, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. There are certain people that need to have bail denied because of the ability for them to move around the world and avoid litigation. We're talking about a billionaire. We're talking about a billionaire repeat offender for the same crime. And we're talking about somebody who has documented homes outside of America. Now, you can take away, now people say, well, you can take away his passport. He has billions of dollars. Also, you're not going to stop this man from moving around.
Also, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to do something about this man's assets in freezing them because he has a massive amount of money. He's already, according to this CBS News report, they're worried that he might try to derail his trial.
Yeah.
They said Epstein recently paid $100,000 to one individual named as a possible co-conspirator in a non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors 12 years ago.
$1,000.
He recently paid this person $100,000. And then he said this payment, along with $250,000 sent to another person who was a former employee and named as a possible co-conspirator in the non-prosecution agreement, came after the Miami Herald last November began publishing a series of articles describing the circumstances of his state court conviction and his deal with the federal prosecution. So basically, his version of surviving Jeffrey Epstein was coming out through the Miami Herald, and he got ahead of it, and started paying people off that were already not forced to prosecute last time. That kept him basically out of prison for a very long time by not being forced to be as part of the plea deal. They were forced they didn't have to testify. But these people, this plea deal wouldn't help in this current case. These people could be subpoenaed to testify. So before that happens, he goes ahead of it and he pays these people off. And so now these people are in a state where have been paid off to keep quiet.
Now here's the coldest part about
he's reading. He's a flight risk. Yeah,
right, Todd. Coldest part about what he's reading, because I'm reading along with him. The very next line, the very first sentence in the next paragraph: Epstein was arrested July 6th at Teterboro Airport. Flight risk, okay? Like the man knew he was already getting ready to go.
Well, he wasn't getting. I don't think he was getting ready to leave. He gets on flights all the time.
Of course,
it's a billionaire, man. It is what it is. They
catch you at an airport, bro. If they let you out your house on house arrest, they will probably not catch you at the next.
I think that there would be no bail hearing or bail. This wouldn't even be a big deal if they thought where they caught him at, he was about to get on a flight to Europe or something like that and try to do the Roman Polanski thing.
Or Julian Assange. Julian Assange was gone for a hot minute before they caught up with him.
Don't get me started on Assange, bro. Assange is not a criminal.
I didn't say he was. I'm just saying to them he was a flight risk. Is what I'm saying, because when he got outside of America, when they wanted him, he was gone. He went to Russia and he was there, and they weren't going to let him go until they finally said, you know what, this is too much of an issue, and he went. The whole point I'm making is where money is, there's ways to get around getting prosecuted. Period, point blank. If you got enough money. And I think America's getting really tired of it. I appreciate the consciousness of the public to want to see people like these kind of monsters getting held liable for it. But where there's money, There's avenues that you have that you don't have money, or when you don't have money. There's ways to get away with things when you have money that you can't when you don't.
Okay. So going right on to Acosta, we're going to talk a little bit about him. Residents of South Florida expressed relief that President Trump's labor secretary, Alex Acosta, is resigning his post, according to an NPR story that I'm looking at right now. Acosta is a former federal prosecutor in South Florida. Mm-hmm. And this week, he's been under renewed and intense scrutiny stemming from the deal, which Epstein pleaded guilty to lesser sex crimes and served 13 months in jail with work release during the day. 13 months in the county with work release during the day. So
and let me tell you the conditions of this work release. 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, he could go and do what he wanted.
So he basically slept in jail and then
went out the next day. Probably didn't even take a shower. Probably didn't eat with no inmates. 12 hours a day? Are you serious? But anyway, me and friends of the people have had this ongoing conversation about Acosta. Did I think that he did everything that he was supposed to do in the case? Hell no. But I will say that at one point, the prosecutors that were taking care of the case were almost going to let Epstein walk free and clear.
I think that
that's why he stepped in.
I think one of the main things, I think the reason he stepped down is because one of the main reasons that he got the labor secretary job in the first place was his protection of Epstein.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is where I think that, once it starts rolling, it wouldn't be hard to kind of figure that out for people in the media, and then it would be kind of a field day on Trump. But I think that by him stepping down, it begins to put the fire out a little bit, and also it also gives him an opportunity to, Trump an opportunity to kind of kill this thing, to throw a rug over it. So,
now, me and you had this conversation last night, and I'm gonna ask you again: because you said this to me, and do you really believe he stepped down on his own accord, or do you think Trump was kind of behind that?
I think that it was all strategic.
Okay.
I think that Trump, I think it was a staff meeting. Okay, everybody, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to put this fire out? There's something going on right now in administration that could be looked at as a scandal, or it could just all blow over. So how do we make sure that this thing does as little damage as possible? Well, the way we do it is we have to remove Acosta, number one, because Acosta, the what people are getting enraged about, because Acosta didn't break the law.
No,
what people are getting enraged about is the fact that he is the labor secretary while he's doing this.
Yeah. And
people don't seem to care. See, the first thing they did was they came out and said, well, he's a great labor secretary. Look how low unemployment is. He needs to be here for the good of America. Motherfuckers was not buying that. And once they stopped buying that, they were like, well, that's the best thing. That's the best we got. Because what did he say the day before he resigned? Trump was on TV and he said, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. He's a great labor secretary. He was pumping him up. He's a great labor secretary, and unemployment is very low, and he's been implementing the policies, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens is we'll see what the people think about what I just said, and then we'll have a meeting, and then we will do what we have to do to make sure this blows over. The meeting, when they found that this was not really happening, where it's not blowing over really, they said, you know what?
Got to fall on that sword.
You got to go, right? And Acosta, he resigned rather than be fired, because if Trump would have fired him,
now we're questioning your decision making down the line.
It would have done right. It would have done
more damage. Here's one of the funny things too that I read the other day about Acosta, and it still makes me feel like there's a burgeoning problem with this. He went to Congress and he requested that they cut the funding for the prevention of human trafficking, whatever the case was. And he went in and he asked them to give a proposed cut to the $68 million that's provided to help with the prevention of human trafficking down to about $18.5 million. And one of the congresswomen immediately stated that we know how you feel about human trafficking because you were supremely light on Jeffrey Epstein, who is a known sex trafficker of underage women. So it's no shock to us that you want to walk in here and ask for them to cut funding on something that's probably going to bring to light some horrible decision making you made back when you were the prosecutor in Florida. Didn't have much of a response to that. He did try to defend it at some point, but he clammed up and just walked out because he really can't. There's no way to justify asking to cut funding into something that is epidemic across the world, and certainly a problem in America.
Right.
So, I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin for him, because as soon as Trump would have probably said something to Congress like, look what he's doing for the country, they're going to return to that. Look what he's trying to do to the country. You know what I'm saying? Like, look what he's trying to do with the money that's involved in the things that are problematic in our country. And me and friends people were talking about that last night. I mean, the man, it's just really hard to stomach the fact that he was asking for that kind of a decrease in fundage when Trump's been accused of it. Jeffrey Epstein's been accused of it. Jared Fulton, many of these rich people have been accused of the crime of human or trafficking underage women, not just women, period, just underage women. So I think that was more the nail in the coffin, because at that point, both party lines are like, what do you want us to do with this? Like, what do you want us to do with this? I mean, one of the laws in California right now is that if somebody's getting trafficked, all businesses that are open to the public are supposed to have a piece of paper with a phone number that they can text on. So, I mean, you're asking them to cut funding for that. I mean, it's just a very, very bad look. So in summation on the whole situation, I find that, I don't believe Epstein should ever see the light of day on free soil again. I hope for sure that they give him life in prison. But I really hope that this trial doesn't take a horrible turn because of money. And I have a big fear of that. I think that he will find a way to move some of those funds around and definitely affect the outcome of this trial in his favor.
Yeah, I don't think it really doesn't help to have a Me Too movement for women if we're not protecting children. Yeah. And because it goes.
Well, it starts with children. Women, young girls become women.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. I mean, nobody is born a woman or a man. So you definitely can't put horse before the car, or car before the horse.
Well, okay, so yeah, shifting gears here to the violent brawl.
Why are we talking about? Oh my God! All right. First thing I'm gonna say about this, Disneyland is too damn expensive to be showing your ass. That's the first thing I'm gonna say.
Wait. If I paid to get in, got my ticket, I should be able to show my ass. It should be like just like at the stadium. If I go to a Ducks game, I can show out. I can call people niggers and every goddamn thing, and nothing's gonna happen. So if I go to Disneyland, I should be able to show
fuck you with the
my
mouse.
ass.
Like you. That's the mouse. People gotta really, really realize when it comes to Disneyland, you could do that at Magic Mountain. You can do that at Knott's Berry Farm. You show your ass at Disneyland, oh my God, that mouse will punish you for that.
I just can't believe they had such a concentration of black people with zero hands. Because that was one of the funny
fights. And the dudes that were fighting, I really honestly hope for those women, I feel bad because they are not safe. If you are in a life or death situation and those two men are there to be the deciding factor, hope you have your will applied.
Okay, now I said there should be an investigation definitely into the thing before they start doing anything to people. Everybody has to try to due process. I'm going to just point out something that you see here on Twitter. Here for the ratio. Tweeted, "This is a joke to the Anaheim PD. This is a joke. You had many eyewitnesses. Disneyland had cameras. Like, it doesn't have to be an investigation." Which I don't know why a black person would ever say there shouldn't be an investigation. That's crazy. But
black man, don't need for an investigation. Niggas acting stupid, doing nigga shit. Get them motherfuckers arrested, lock them up.
Well, that's
point blank.
Okay, well, thank you, Joe Biden Jr. But
what do you need to investigate though?
Everybody has a right to due process.
Due process for what?
Because this is what happened when they questioned these people. Not a joke. There has to be an investigation. This is the Anaheim PD. So the PD that you guys don't like, fucking police officers see so. This is what the nigga said. This is what the police said. There has to be an investigation. The parties involved denied anything occurred, and we were not there to witness it. So he can't just come up to you and come to your house and say you're under arrest. He wasn't there. The videos that were not available at the moment make things clear, and the case has been presented to prosecutors. Meaning, yeah, the video that you guys saw, it wasn't a Disneyland camera. The video that you guys saw was a phone camera from some standby person.
First things first.
And now they didn't have that evidence at the time. They need to investigate.
First things first. I saw that video on YouTube, and I'm gonna say somebody uploaded that just like that. So I don't know if that's all the way 100. I'm gonna keep it all the way funky on my side. I don't buy that because I live in a digital age. We're live streaming right now, and I'm sure somebody was live streaming that on Facebook. That video we saw on YouTube was one of many. But the more important problem that I had with this entire situation was the lack of a timely response from Disneyland security. Now, this fight went on for in excess of 3 to 5 minutes. And there was a very slow response to what happened. But even more detrimental is there was a it took a civilian to put the dude that was doing the most damage down. He had to ask who choked me out because it wasn't an employee of Disneyland. Now, I get it. You can't just touch everyone you want if you're an employee of Disneyland because that's going to put you in line to damage the brand. I get that. I really sincerely get that because I've worked for a couple of businesses in an LP, in a loss prevention capacity, and it's a very fine line against what you can and cannot do to a human being in regards to touching them. But when people are being physically assaulted, especially a man that was, I can't really guesstimate his size, but he looked like he was about a man's size right here, and he's socking women out, which again, no hands. But the fact that Disneyland had such slow responses to it should definitely make people more concerned with their safety at Disneyland than taking care of the people that were acting an ass, because it took 5 minutes before somebody was there to stop or at least get control of the situation. And Disneyland is a very large park. That's what a lot of people have said to me when I say this, and I'll say this to you very quickly. I have friends that work for Disneyland, and they will tell you there's a security guard probably every 200 to 300 feet.
But are they the security guards? Are they the hit squad? Are they Mickey's hit squad, or are they the walkie-talkie?
Well, there's different levels to it. Good
Right.
question. Very good question. There's different levels to it. I mean, if you watch the video, you break it down, you'll see that there was a guy with a trash can. He ain't even level 1. But about maybe 30 to 45 seconds, level 1 did show up. Then about maybe a minute and a half later, level 2 showed up. Then by the time old boy was on his back asking who choked me out, that was when you saw the hit squad.
Is that the guys in the yellow shirts?
Yes.
They're the police, right?
They're park police. They're not police, but they're park police.
They're probably off-duty police officers doing something.
Yeah. I mean, Disneyland is, if you know the history of Disneyland, that property is privately owned. It's almost like a small country inside the city of Anaheim. So they have their own police force.
And what you got to also remember about the situation is everybody, all those people were in the same family. They
were. And that's a very, very, social commentary on that is what's going on in the Black family. What was dysfunctional there that even brought that to that level of violence? I mean, that's another conversation for another day, but that's part of the investigation that I do say I want to know. I want to know what was the precursor to an entire family divulging into animals. I would love to know that.
I don't know. I guess I think it's when you let Waka Flocka Flame and the Brick Squad into Disneyland, you're going to expect a mosh pit.
But that's exactly not the case. I've been to Disneyland many a time, and I've seen larger groups of Black people there.
It's not about how big the group is. It's about how turned they are.
I mean, hey, and side note, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. You did not die for this. Because Because I remember, like, at one point in the video, dude was like, I'm ready to go to jail on Neighborhoods. And I just know, like, Nipsey's like, dude, the marathon continues, but y'all are making it look really, really raggedy right now.
The marathon continues, but y'all something like Puff Daddy, when you tore your ligament, you had to keep going for the kids.
You ain't. But I mean, like, you know, it is very hard to watch if you're it's really hard to watch if you really take into account that they were all family, because if it was separate gangs, or, you know, they were enemies, you could kind of say, oh well, this is street shit. You could just chalk it up to that. But
and that might be the reason why the dude in red wasn't going super hard. They was like, you know, they related. I think it was two couples and then their kids and then the mama, and you know what I mean.
But he hit his own girl.
Yeah, when he thought
he was like, "Why you knock my mama down?" He hit his own girl, and the coldest part is she laying on the floor like, "Oh, he's sticking up for you." Like,
and the cold thing was, nobody hit the mom. The mom flopped.
She flopped. She pulled a 100% FIFA move, y'all. Because people have been saying, nah, she got punched. By who? I watched that video like 4 times. It was like, as soon as like somebody, I think she might have felt like a shoulder toucher because the dude was trying to back up.
But it was so funny was, I don't know.
And I know that was a lawsuit flop. I know lawsuit flops when I see it.
Was when the lady in the short jean shorts and the white shirt, the big lady, when he came back the second time and smacked her down to the ground. Like, it was all slaps. He like put the paws on her. Literally.
It really was. Like I said, going all the way back to what he said at the beginning, I can't stress to you how bad I felt for those women, because those are supposed to be the protectors and providers, and I can't imagine them I can't imagine them punching their way out of a wet paper bag. Those boys could not fight.
I have a hard time taking this whole thing seriously because, I mean, come on, people fight. And
they do. But I done seen skinny white boys one Alia fat.
The one she got
the brave.
First, this is the initial fight, but then when he left round that over there and came back, he slapped her to the ground, like all.
It was just all, and she laid out.
The Daniel-san wax on, wax off.
She laid out like she had gotten the Mike Tyson hood. Like, she laid out. And it was funny. And it's like, you know, when you start trying to break it down, I'm imagining that at some point they're all going to point at them and say he was crazy, he flipped out. He might have been drunk, because we all know Disneyland serves liquor if you find it. But it almost was as if they was all laying out to say, you know, I'm going to sue Disneyland because y'all didn't save us. Because the mom took a flop. She took a flop. The only person out there that didn't flop was young girl that was trying to help the man and she got beat up. So, baby girl, if you out there, you can do better. You had a little bit of a good look to you. I mean, you can do better.
Tells me that everyone got what they deserve.
All right. So, you know, we got a couple more minutes with y'all. So we're gonna hit one more last story. I don't know if you've been listening to Facebook. I don't know if you've been on Facebook. They call it a satirical group, but I will tell you, I don't take it too funny. I think they might be serious. It's about 300 people that are talking about storming Area 51. First things first, me and him have been debating this for a long time. 300,000 people going to run up, about 200,000 going to fall out because they're going to shoot you.
I don't think they're going to shoot
you. You don't think they're going to shoot you. Facebook, Reddit, they will shoot you. Okay? So let's just go there first. Second thing to that, though, it's hard to take them seriously because one of those sentences in their mission statement, they are running up on Area 51 because what they want them to do is show us them aliens. That is literally the wording. Show us them aliens with a D.
Here's the plan as the creator of the event. We'll set the creator of the event. We will all meet up at Area 51 Alien Center tourist attraction and coordinate our entry. If we Naruto run, we can move faster than their bullets. Let's see them aliens.
Now, I know some of y'all may not know what Naruto is. Don't feel bad. I do. I'm a bit of a nerd. But it's simply running, full speed, hands back behind you, crouch forward, like a ninja. That's supposed to make them impervious and faster than the bullets.
And whatever you're going to run into, you can run into it face first.
Like I mean to tell you, if you got 300, the coldest part about this is they really do have 300,000 people that signed up for this. If 300,000 people are committed to running into Area 51, why aren't they committed to vote?
This is a worldwide thing.
We got a lot of, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of issues in the world that we could work on. There's poverty that we could be attacking. There's, horrific incidences across the globe with people being, mistreated. France is still fighting the yellow vest movement right now. There's other things to worry about than them aliens. That's me. That's how I feel. I mean, but I will tune in. I'll tell you that. I know somebody's gonna live stream it. I'm gonna tune straight the fuck on in because I still believe they gonna shoot somebody. I think they gonna run. One motherfucker gonna shot. They gonna stop. They gonna run the other way. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Hey Tanika, we see you. We missed you today. We gonna make sure we get at you. We got some hot stuff to talk about next week. We had already set something up. We gonna make sure we pull you in and keep you up on it. One last thing I personally want to talk about. I don't know if anybody heard about the $1.3 billion drug bust that happened in Philadelphia. Boat full of cocaine was found, and for a while they didn't say they were trying to put it on an African country.
Oh, I remember that.
And recently it was found out that boat was owned by nobody other than J.P. Morgan Chase Bank.
Yeah, but was that boat loaned to someone?
No, it was not. Read the story about that one. I read it the other day, and it flew. I want to say it was a Malawian flag. I'm not 100% sure it was an African country there, but I will be 100% honest with you. Oh no, it's an African country. It's an African country, but one thing that's wild, out of control. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank got a $789 bailout from Barack Obama back in the day, right? We all remember that. Interesting time because that was supposed to be when the people were supposed to get a stimulus check. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank has a lot of money. So what they're now asking that bank is, where are you doing with this money? Are you investing some of this into the cocaine trade?
All I'm saying is this. Okay, look, and this is what I don't like, though. I don't like reading this report and then seeing the smugness, because they made this bust and it's about how much cocaine was it?
It was about 20 tons, man.
About 20 tons of cocaine. And this is what McSwain. Hold on, man. My shit is like.
And while he's figuring this out for you, I want to point something out to you as well.
Oh,
the amount of cocaine.
U.S. attorney.
Yeah, but the amount of cocaine that was produced. This is a finding. This is the part of that story. They said that the reason that there was so much cocaine on that boat is because the production of cocaine has surged in recent years in Colombia to 1,041 tons in a year. Now, how do y'all know that?
Because, I mean, I'm sure it's an estimate. But
that's a very estimates are like approx. They usually use an adjective for an estimate, which is like approximately. It could be 1,041 seems like a very, very, very concise number. It seems like it's really on the dot. My question is,
Costa Rica to Panama to
doing
the
the
Bahamas. They said it came from Costa Rica.
Yeah. Well, they said it traveled through a couple of different ports, and its final destination for those of us out here viewing this, the final destination was actually Amsterdam, right? Because it's well known. Amsterdam ports or the European ports are much more lax on what they're looking for. So the first mistake they made was coming here.
They've decriminalized cocaine.
Well, I mean, in small amounts, but I mean, obviously, the point is still.
Oh yeah, if you decriminalize it in small amounts.
You're going to need a large amount to give people. Right. We get that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it. So the first and foremost mistake was coming to America.
But I don't think the whole 1.1 billion was going to go to one small country.
No, and I'm pretty sure some of it was going to get dropped off here. But I'm still saying, and I want to understand, why the fuck a bank has $1.3 billion worth of cocaine on their vessel.
It says it's confirmed that 6 people were charged in the $1 billion cocaine bust that took place in Port of Philadelphia. They also upped the amount of cocaine seized from the MSC Guyane cargo ship to more than 35,000 pounds or 15,876 kilograms. They put the street value at 1.1 billion. And this is a quote from the U.S. Attorney William McSwain. Listen to this guy. Each defendant has been federally charged with 1 count of knowingly and intentionally conspiring with each other and with others to possess more than 5 kilos of cocaine on board a vessel subject to the jurisdiction of our country. You thought you could breeze into our port and then leave with enough cocaine to destroy millions of lives without being caught. You thought you were clever. You were wrong. First of all, McSwain, with your dumb ass, the reason there was that 35,000 pounds of cocaine on that is because they've done it before.
Oh yeah.
This is not an experimental
This ain't their
trip.
first rodeo, bro.
This ain't an experimental trip. So for you to be so smug because you caught 1 shipment and you let 5 pass,
You ought to chill out.
Yeah, you ought to just.
I would if I were you, McSwain, you should be happy you caught that one.
This is William McSwain's tough on crime moment. You
right,
thought,
he will
motherfucker.
Be using this for decades if he's still alive to get into office. He's going to be always out there talking about, do you remember the time I caught that $1.3 billion of cocaine on that boat?
And then look
because I don't play.
And then you look at this.
They thought they were clever.
Not even that. He's going to be telling this to his fucking great-grandkids.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be the hero
how
story
he's some kind
forever.
of big-time prosecutor.
But here's the coldest part about that. Not less than 3 days ago, there's huge video, or there's a video of a huge cocaine seizure where the Coast Guard is jumping on it with a submarine with 17 tons of cocaine on it. McSwain, dropping the bucket, bro.
But also, I like how you get pictures like these whenever they bust. They got all the cocaine up there when they busted. Then they got all these officials, everybody from the Hicktown sheriff down to the director of Homeland Security.
Everybody got Longshoreman in this picture.
Right. It's like a gang.
So who's who was around the boat when we found it?
Right. It's like a hood picture. None of them actually made the bus.
No,
these aren't the people that made the bus.
No.
They're the photo op motherfuckers that you should get a part of that.
And Betty, I hear your question. What happens to the money?
Well, the money.
It goes into the production of more cocaine.
No. The money is not. They don't. It's that $1.1 billion worth of cocaine.
It's worth the cocaine.
So
but I get the question you're still. No, I get what you're asking. It goes into the production of more cocaine. That's where it goes. Because I'm going to be honest with you, none of the people that were arrested in this crime had anything to do with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. Period. They were insulated for this. They were insulated for this. I promise you, the 6 people that were arrested were the 6 people that were on that boat. That's it. The 6 people that would take the fall for this were the 6 people that were on that boat. Nobody that was behind how that boat got on the water. Nobody that was on that the flag was flying under over that boat. Nobody involved with any of that will see any jail time of any kind. The only people that will take the fall for this are the 6 people that were on that boat. And I promise you, if you follow the money, the DEA is literally, the reason they're even laxing on marijuana is because they know there's no money in pursuing marijuana. The money is really in cocaine because you're not going to stop growing it. The coca leaf is still naturally produced in Colombia and Venezuela and Peru. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop these traffickers have gotten to a point where they're so sophisticated they have more money than the DEA.
The funny fucking shit about this is every time, and I'm going to ask you if you notice this, but every time they make one of these humongous fucking busts, right? Whether it be at the border, on a ship, whatever, right? They never tell you the name of the people that fucking did it. And you can think, just think about it and go back to Big Bus, and I'm going to start looking because I thought that shit was weird as fuck.
Oh, no, it's very well documented. You'll never see a picture of the person.
A dude pulls his willy out on the street and starts running around.
You'll know who that is.
Right, he's on the news.
You'll know. But the people that, there was an interesting story, 55 tons of weed. 55 tons of weed got caught at the border.
Who did it?
Nobody, no name, no picture, no nothing.
Pictures, nothing, never. They never show you the person.
Black bag the guy, he's ghost.
Not only that, some of these busts are setups.
Oh, yeah. Again, so they can keep funding a literal agency that should be defunct because the war on drugs is literally the most lost war that America has ever fought. Period.
But and I should say, not but. Think about it like this: if you guys are so well funded, on why is all this bullshit? How does this bullshit even happen? How does anybody ever get away? Because if they weren't getting away with it, they wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it.
How does anybody ever get away with it if you guys are so good?
That was one of the insanest things. That was like going all the way back to the building of the wall. That was one of the most insane things that the Mexican people talked about.
I get
was
it.
like, you're going to build a wall and do what? When you found one tunnel and know there's like 15 more.
I get it. It's like baseball. In baseball, if you do your job 3 out of 10 times right, they put you in the Hall of Fame.
There you go. There you go.
And so with drugs, if you do 1 out of 100, you're a legend.
You're a legend.
You're fucking Wyatt Earp in the motherfucking. You're Wyatt Earp in the motherfucking. You know what I'm saying? Wells Fargo fucking Express. All of a sudden.
You done got Jesse James. We ain't talking about the other 700 motherfucking bank robbers, but you got Jesse James. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous the amount of publicity this story even got before they found out there was a bank involved. And I'm almost assured that they knew that bank was owned by who it was when they first made the bust. But the first thing they tried to do was blame the holding company, or not the holding company, I'm sorry, the shipping company.
Okay.
Who the boat was bought from by JP Morgan Chase Bank.
CBS Philly reports on that. JP Morgan Chase owns the cargo ship involved in over $1 billion cocaine bust.
Now that's, my friends, a bank you probably have money in. So if you ever wanted to feel guilty about supporting the drug trade or terrorism, get your money out of Chase Bank.
Well, okay.
Just gonna be honest with you, because we all know that's what they. I remember tons of commercials about weed when they were like, every time you buy a bag of weed, you're supporting terrorism, right? So every time you deposit your money in Chase Bank, looks like you're purporting the sale of cocaine. Or trafficking.
It does say here, JP Morgan Chase does not have any operational control of the vessel, a Liberian flag ship that is run by the Swiss-based Mediterranean Shipping Company. The bank had no comment.
I'm going to say it one more time. Just like me and friends, the people were talking about Pete Buttigieg. He don't have any control over the police, but the black people that's the same. He's the
mayor.
He's the mayor, but he can't. He's not in the car with a cop, and he's not controlling what the cop does when he's in the car.
Oh no! He's not responding. He's not responding to policy well because the dude turned off his turned off his body cam, and he still has a job.
The actions of the police officer while you're doing it.
But you can just like the police can't control if someone breaks the law or not, but they can enforce the law, right?
And by the way, MSC, which is the Mediterranean Shipping Company, has been a long time, or has always cooperated for the longest with U.S. authorities. So I'm just trying to, like I said, this story has more twists and turns than a lot of the stories I've heard when it comes to transporting cocaine, because usually it's a pretty straightforward process. Cartel or a Colombian drug lord sends it on something, they catch it, bada bing, bada boom, it's over with. This has a lot of layers to it.
But if you think about the amount of ships, that go through the port of Philadelphia, that go through the major ports, and then there's dope on one, I don't think that makes it a major problem.
It does if you think that there's, like you just said, if there's one that you catch and there's 5 that you don't. It's a major. I mean, drug trafficking is a major problem all over the world, but this is the first time I've ever heard of somebody like this is the first time I've ever heard of a major financial institution actually being directly connected to it. Is what I should be saying, because it's typically not something you hear, and it's definitely something that doesn't make you comfortable if you're working with them for a lot of different reasons. Because whether or not they knew about it, whether or not they were in collusion with it, whether or not they knew the cocaine was on the boat, that's your money that's your checking fees hard at work right there. So, anything else you want to bring to the table while we got a little bit more time with the world that we got in front of us?
Nope. I just want to say, you guys, just like, subscribe, click the notification bell. Make sure you get everything that uh, that we have to offer in terms of programming here, and we're going to be diving deeper into some of the more controversial subjects of every given week, and we will also be giving you some bonus features, and we've got a few surprises up our sleeve. So make sure you follow us. We look out for our new social media, Facebook, Twitter. We're going to be launching an Instagram, and so you can interact with us in all kinds of different ways. So I'm excited about that, and that's all I really have to say. You know,
To quote him, what I like to say is, the best is still yet to come. So don't think that we aren't going to give it to you guys raw, unfiltered as we always do.
pause.
You know, do want to appreciate all of those that tuned in today. Betty Boobs, of course, BL Camaro, Ty, like always, Sneaker. And want to say thank you guys also for just taking the time to get a little better educated on what's going on out there, because I know some of the stuff, that might not hit your desk. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to bring it to you, but we'll always keep giving you original content. And in the words of the friend of the people, the best is still yet to come.
Yeah, anything funny, interesting, controversial that you guys want to talk about, see on the show, send us your articles.
Yes, please do.
We'll always be, we are always going, looking for, interesting stories to talk about. And you might just hear something that you sent on being talked about on the show.
Yeah, and if like I know we have our side. I mean, me personally, if you I got my Twitter handles, TweetFiend7. That's TweetFiend7. Instagram is Hugh Played Yourself, HUGH Played Yourself. Tap in, hit my DM with some raw stuff. I'm always checking that. And like I said, I appreciate you guys for joining us on this lovely Saturday afternoon. Kiss the kids, kiss the wife. Lakers for life, by the way. One of the last thing I was saying about anything else.
They didn't pay us for that. The Lakers did not pay us for that. All right, you guys, we're out. See you later. Bye.